I would like to invite here first Rony, again from Mercado Bitcoin. Thank you, Rony. Mike Bear from Figment, please. Thank you. Colton, come on. Nice. Nice meeting you. Mirella, por favor. Okay, cool. Now we have the whole team on. I think was a guy called Lucas. He asked it before, what's going on now that we are changing from proof of work to proof of stake? How does that look like? So pretty excited to hear more about this. We're seeing a big case for restaking as well. So looking forward to know more from you. We're bringing the mics to you.
Hey everybody, hello. Hope you all feel nice after the lunch. So let's start now our panel. Right, so we have a team of stars here in Figment and I'd like them to introduce themselves. So please, Mike.
Hey, I'm Mike Bear. Thanks to Ethereum Brazil for hosting and organizing, and thanks to everybody in the audience. We're looking forward to chatting with you for the next 30 minutes.
Hey guys, I'm Colton. I'm a senior sales engineer at Figment, coming all the way from the US, and yeah, appreciate you guys sitting in to listen to us.
Hey everyone, I'm Mirella. I'm from Brazil, São Paulo, and I'm protocol onboarding lead at Figment. Very excited to be here.
Perfect, thank you guys. So we'll talk now a little bit about staking, right? So we just saw this month that the Ethereum network reached 1 million validators, which is an incredible number of people really investing in the security of the chain. And we want to understand more a little bit about what is exactly staking, what are the rewards involved in, what are the risks, how can we participate in this action, and also how can we do it through Figma and Mercado Bitcoin. Perfect, so please Mike, explain to us a little bit more, what is staking first?
Sure. So when you think of staking, I think the easiest way to think about it is making new blocks. You have blockchains, they're running a variety of nodes, and they're receiving transactions from users all day and all night long. And when those transactions get bundled and approved, and they're correct, they get put into a new block. The staking provider signs that block, and they append it to the chain, and thus the block height increases. So that's what Figment does. We help create new blocks on blockchains. And staking is important because it increases the security on the chain, which we'll get into a little bit more later. It also allows you to participate in community and governance-related activities. And it also gives you a reward. When you perform an action that helps the blockchain rewards you as a staker, as a delegator, and you earn a token, or sometimes several tokens. And then Figment passes those on to our customers.
Perfect, thank you very much. And Colton, please explain a little bit more about the security regarding the stake. I mean, what is that we are securing when we stake our ETH there in the Bitcoin chain? What are the end game of staking in the future? Can you talk to us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so one of the main things that staking provides on a lot of these blockchains is security. And so generally when people think about security on blockchains, the number one thing that comes to mind is what does it cost to attack that blockchain or to compromise that chain? And so that's one part of security that staking provides on blockchains. The other one is making sure that the blockchain is highly available. So as you continue to send transactions from day to day on a blockchain, you want to make sure that the nodes, the computers that are serving that blockchain are continuously online and performing the way that the blockchain expects them to. And so when you look at like some of the most successful blockchains today, there's a few attributes that really make blockchains, those top blockchains, secure. One of them is having a decentralized set of validators and a large number of validators. And so that's really for two reasons. The first one is making sure that if you have a small set of validators, that means that they could all collude and maybe like write their own reality of the blockchain that's different from what everybody else is really wanting to happen. The other one is making sure that the network as a whole of all those validators is available and can continue processing transactions on the chain. So that's what you want to have a large number of validators on there. And the other one is making sure that those validators are doing the right thing. They're performing. They're highly performant validators. If you don't have a blockchain that's doing those things, it's very hard to see how there's really a lot of value in using it. And so coming full circle there by staking your assets with validators that do a lot of those things and making sure you're staking with a bunch of different validators is the way that you get security on blockchains today.
Perfect. And in order for us to understand a little bit better, I'd like you to give me some examples, some analogies. Right, Mirella, can you tell me an analogy of staking?
Yeah, of course. So I think we can all agree that blockchain is complex. And especially one thing that Web3 is really great at is embracing people from all areas. So it's normal for us less technical folks to have some trouble or take more time understanding exactly and visualizing all that, exactly what it means. So one thing that I'm a big fan of is metaphors, analogies, because it definitely helps us visualize better what we're actually talking about and how we can see the same thing in reality. So when it comes to security, you can imagine something like, let's say you are at a bar or at a party somewhere, you went out Friday night. Would you feel safer with a building with 3 bodyguards or 5 bodyguards, 50 bodyguards? Or one with over 1,000, over millions. It's pretty easy, right? You want the one with the most bodyguards available, especially when it comes with, let's say it's a huge party. So you want as many as possible. And that's exactly what Ethereum speaks to. So many node operators running, so many bodyguards, all ensuring that everything, the trust is operational and everything is optimized and working as it should. And that's why we have the trustless system, because security is enforced by them.
This is incredible. I mean, nowadays, as they said, we have more than 1 million validators in Ethereum, which means more than 32 million ETH staked, right? Which accounts with ETH about $3,000 today. More than $96 billion securing the chain. Of course, we don't need to have an attack. We just need to have 1/3 of the compromised ETH, but still is a lot of money. It's a lot of economic security, right? And this is the main point of the next topic that we're going to talk about. We can use this economic security that the users you give by staking their ETH in also other applications, right? That's the idea that we'll talk about soon, about restaking. But before that, I have a question for you all, guys. I want to know which one here already does staking in Ethereum. And anyway, via exchanges, via decentralized exchanges, via ETFs, via anything that you want. You can do it alone at your house. So please raise your hands again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's good.
That's good. That's good.
All right, and how did you do it? I mean, via a centralized exchange, via decentralized exchange? Victor, the one, you. Oh, using Mercado Bitcoin, very nice. So also using Figment. And you didn't have any problem with slashing, right? That's very nice, good. But now let's go back to our main topic, right? So as I said, we have a lot of capital deposits in the Bitcoin chain, right? In the staking in the Ethereum blockchain. And we can use also this economic security, this capital, to provide security for other applications. So Mike, please explain us a little bit more about what restaking is and what is actually Eigenlayer, the one that created this idea for us.
Happy to. So the development on Ethereum has been incredibly strong since its founding. But there's a new novel application out there called Eigenlayer that allows for even more development on Ethereum. And it allows for people to build blockchains and stand up blockchains on top of Ethereum in ways that is much more simple and faster and safer than standing up a blockchain on your own. It rewards you as an ecosystem participant if you're a builder, because you get to move much more quickly and you don't have to source your own security. You can leverage or borrow the security of the million bodyguards on Ethereum. And as a delegator or a staker, you receive token rewards not just from Ethereum, but also from all of the protocols that are built on top of Ethereum. These are called AVSs. They're about, actively validated services. There are about 10 live right now. 40 or 50 more will be coming over the next few months. So it's going to be a huge ecosystem topic for the rest of the year, and it represents a new wave of building on Ethereum that promises to make Ethereum even more functional than it is today.
This is super exciting, right? The Eigenlayer just had its airdrop, and the community actually was on rage before, but then it was calmed down. But this is really a big segment. Like Eigenlayer just grew like in 3 or 4 months. It's got like 1 million deposits. So it's a very huge, attract a lot of interest from the players in the market. And this is very interesting. But I want to know, Colton, which problems does Eigenlayer really solve?
Yeah, so I think it's worth jumping back and looking before Eigenlayer. I mean, Eigenlayer is still definitely in its early days, but like if you wanted to launch your own like L1, for example, or maybe like your own data availability layer or something like that, if you want to launch your own blockchain, it's a hard thing to do. And so if you think back to like what I was saying earlier about what it means to have a very secure blockchain, one of them is having a large number of validators. So if you're a protocol developer and you have this great idea in your head about what you want to build as this new chain, you can't just start building right away. What you have to do first is go out and find all these different validators, like Figment, like some of our competitors. You probably want to find people who are going to be running validators from their home, and that's a hard thing to do. You have to convince them of your vision, maybe that they're going to be rewarded properly for securing your chain. It really takes away from focusing on the core objective that you have when you come up with this idea. And so instead of just having to do that on your own, what Eigenlayer is really providing to these protocol developers is this network of validators that are already saying, hey, we're interested in validating these AVSs or actively validated services, and you, as one of these new blockchains, can tap into that network. The other thing that's really hard when you start launching a new blockchain is that it's very likely that you don't have a high amount of assets staked. So this is what we call like economic security. What Rony was talking about earlier is, when you think of like a high amount of assets staked, you want to have like a high dollar value. And so maybe like your token price isn't very high, or like your market cap in general isn't very high, or there's just not a lot of people staking on your new chain. That means it's easy to compromise that chain. It's and compromising a brand new blockchain means it's usually toast. It's very hard to recover from that as a brand new project. And so with this new concept of restaking, it uses it's called shared security, where a larger protocol that has a high amount of economic security, or in other words, like a high amount of assets staked in terms of like economic value, can actually be used from a new blockchain's perspective. So if I'm Colton chain, for example, I don't have to just go out and find my own validators and rely on my own security. I can tap into Ethereum, and instead of a high percentage of my network getting slashed or like misperforming, I can just use Ethereum security instead, and right off the bat have a secure network. So those are really the two benefits from Eigenlayer in terms of security. So yeah.
Perfect. Mirella, I want you to give me another analogy, please, and also tell me if you're bullish or bearish regarding Eigenlayer in the future, not in a price perspective, but in a market share perspective.
That's easy, but sure, let's go with an analogy first. So I'm not going to be changing or adding actually nothing, because Colton said it all. I'm just going to be putting it in a way that when you're talking to friends and saying, yeah, I restaked my ETH, and they ask why, you can easily explain, and they will say, oh, that's why. So here's the way that you should see it. When you're making dinner for friends, it's not an easy task at all. You gotta buy the ingredients, you gotta pay attention to the seasoning, you gotta set a time, you gotta clean the house, set the table. It's a whole ordeal. With what Eigenlayer is doing is setting the table for you, cleaning the house, putting your friends right at your door. Did I say setting the table? leaving everything right, prim and proper, cutting up all the ingredients, and taking care of the seasoning. And you, as a builder, only have to pay attention and care about what really cares, what you really care, what you should be focusing on, which is cooking the ingredients, which is your product. Everything else is taken care of, is already set, and you just have to focus on what you should really be the high value of all the operation. And there you go. As soon as you're done, all your friends are there, everything is ready, music is playing, and you just have to have dinner with your friends. So when they ask you, I'm going to restake, why are you restaking? That's how you can put it with that. That's how you can frame your answer, because it's easier that way. And you get to claim rewards afterwards. So.
It's incredible. The power that this gives is huge. Remember in the last panel that I was talking here, we were saying crypto needs a killer app, right? We need something like Microsoft Excel in order to attract regular people, as I said, my grandmother, anybody to use crypto, even if we abstract all the use cases. And what restaking is and what Guguilmer is doing is vital for that. Because that's exactly what you guys said. It's much easier to use this economic security that already exists in Ethereum. And also you can avoid slashing risks using institutional companies that can do the staking for you. So don't need to take this risk as a retail person. I mean, you can use methods to mitigate those risks. And then you can focus only on building what this market needs, which is this next killer app, the next Excel that we can do, the next app that will revolutionize DeFi, the next game that will be hyped, right? So this is very important. It's not only a new hype, right? It's not a meme coin that is creating for nothing. Like, this have a use case, a lot of use case, right? And this is one of the jobs that I like the most about Figment, right? This is very nice to see people professionally working in this area in order to allow other people to simply stake their ETH there, be sure that it will be safe, that it will be generating some revenue for them, and then they can focus on development, they can focus on building, they can focus on everything else, right? So I have one question for you three also. What are the difference between if I'm a person like in the retail risk-taking or an institutional risk-taking, right? What are the differences, just for the people to understand what is the difference at all?
That's a great question, and I think it leads into a really interesting point about the functionality of Eigenlayer. Another problem that it solves is the liquidity problem. So previously, if you wanted to stake ETH, you would have to lock it up for the bonding period, which is dynamic. It may be 3 days, it may be 30 days, depending on the dynamics of the network. And that can be challenging. Yes, there are liquid staking protocols that issue you a receipt token or a deposit token, but there are restaking protocols out there that issue liquid restaking tokens, like Renzo or Puffer or Kelp. There are probably 15 of these. So in the retail space, we've seen tremendous adoption of liquid restaking tokens. Somebody says, okay, I want to stake my Ethereum, and I want to be eligible for Eigenlayer airdrops and AVS rewards when they go live, and they get an LRT, and they can go into DeFi with it. And so we're seeing a tremendous amount of retail adoption in the LRT space. The institutions are a little bit more slower moving. They see potential benefits from airdrop farming, if you will, by going in early. But right now, AVS rewards are not yet live, so the institutions are cautiously wading in. It's also a little bit of a truism that if you have 50 or 60 blockchains, 50 or 60 AVSs, maybe only 10 of them are going to be durable for the long run. Maybe even a small handful of them are potentially fraudulent, or the code was written incorrectly and pose some smart contract risks to the users. So we're seeing institutions wade in a little bit more carefully, but in the retail space, it's really quite jumping.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think the majority of the market so far in restaking has been through retail. And to be honest, it's still a very surprisingly large market with 15 billion in TVL on Eigenlayer, which is a large number. But like as Mike said, a lot of institutions are figuring out, how can they really grapple this new concept of restaking on Ethereum? Because there are a few ways you can participate, whether it's through a liquid restaking protocol, which is, like Mike said, you basically restake your ETH or your liquid staking tokens, and you get back a liquid token. And so that's great for folks that want to go and work in DeFi. But there's more things to consider than just how easy is it to just deposit my token and get one back. There's also things that you want to consider, like, do I want to participate in validating or earning rewards from every single one of these AVSs? I mean, like Mike said, like, some of them could be, you know, huge failures. Some of them could be really great. And so, like, there's a lot of analysis being done on, like, which of these AVSs are going to be very successful, like, who are the VCs that are backing these AVSs, what problem are they really solving. A big one right now is tokenomics. People are trying to understand how are these rewards and penalties going to work on each AVS. So there's a lot to consider, and it's all very new. So I think everyone's getting together right now, at least from our perspective, and trying to understand, like, what's the best route to take moving forward. And I think we'll see a lot more of that as more of the protocol becomes available. So, like, as AVS rewards and penalties start flowing to restakers, is probably when we're going to see a lot more institutional adoption. So yeah.
I guess I can add a little bit, just agreeing with what Colton said. There is a lot of retail activity already there, but maybe not so much when it comes to restaking, which we see that, and particularly I do think it's, you know, it's something that we just have to deconstruct. People who already stake and are not restaking or don't even actually understand about. That's why we care so much about breaking down those technical terms and making it easier. It's to make it sound and look less daunting, because it really isn't. It's just, you know, one more step and one more frontier that you can take. And with the speed of that we're seeing with all the AVSs coming on, I do think I invite everyone to actually check it out, because with the speed they are coming on, at some point there's going to be something very exciting that you probably can get excited about and want to be involved. So restaking is not that hard. It is a very interesting concept, and it does pay off to check it out and see if there is a place for you there. Most likely there is.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And so for my last questions, I want to know, as I said a little bit before, about the futures of this market. Again, not price related, but market-wise. I mean, we have, as I said, about $96 billion in staking in Ethereum, and we have around 15 billion in Eigenlayer, so in restaking. So it should be about 15 to 20% of all the staked ETH is already restaked. Will we see this number rise in the next years? Maybe driven by the investors, the institutional investors coming to this market? As you guys said, that most of this market is still retail people. So will we see this market grow in the next year with the institutional investors coming inside? Or do you guys think it will stay kind of a retail-oriented market?
I think a dream of everybody at this conference is that blockchain will be utilized in the next few years in a way that is seamless and elegant and probably invisible to the end user who's accessing the app. In order for that to happen, you need an L1 to be very fast, very secure, and very cheap. In order for all of those things to happen, you'll need AVSs on Ethereum to make it faster and cheaper without sacrificing security. So yes, I think without a doubt the number will continue to rise. It will be driven by speculation because we can't predict what will actually happen. But in this pursuit of increasing the scale and throughput and bandwidth of these blockchains, I think the number of ETH staked and restaked will continue to increase.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, and ultimately what Eigenlayer and restaking in general is doing is it's making the cost of trying new things, new ways of building new protocols decrease. So cost of failure is much lower. So the ability for these new developers to create new projects and try out different ways of building the infrastructure backing L1s and L2s, as that becomes much easier to do, hopefully we'll be able to find solutions that are not only useful in the market, but also like helpful to those other existing protocols that exist today. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Perfect.
You said it all. Yeah.
So before I asked if anybody on here already staked ETH, and we had like 7 people, right? 7 or 8. Now I want to ask again, who wants to stake and restake ETH? Please raise your hand. Less people than before? Good.
less,
A little
more or
bit more, so our talk was good, right? Okay, guys, thank you very much. I will open to questions. If anybody has a question, please raise your hands. We still have 5 minutes.
Very simple one, I think. When I open Twitter, I get slapped in the face with the topic of restaking. Why Figment and not other players? Why should people focus on you? And why are you, let's say, special?
So I think when it comes to choosing a staking provider, the first thing that I'd like to say is that there's room for multiple staking providers. The person who's running an at-home validator, that's fantastic. Every one of Mirella's bodyguards earlier is serving a purpose. And so if you want 1 million bodyguards protecting where you are, you need 1 million different validators running nodes. So diversity is very, very important. Having said that, the reason that Figment is so large and so established and so trusted is because of the philosophy that we utilize when deciding how to architect our solutions. This is a very, very complex thing to do. And so in the background, we spend a lot of time and care making sure that we're running very, very specific versions of Ethereum clients, for example, and we have the capability to switch very quickly using our infrastructure as code approach. But it really comes down to trust. Figment has a very deep bench of experts that scramble to cover our customers whenever they have problems or questions. And the reason that we continue to grow and that people like working with us is because we're a trusted party that helps our customers solve problems. But there are a lot of staking providers out there. Like I'm sure there are staking providers in this audience. There's room for all of us. It's a shared approach.
Hi guys. So my question is about money Legos, and more than like we have Eigenlayer, we have Pando. So it's like crypto in steroids, right? And do you believe that's something else? Or like Pando is the last barrier for money Legos, or people gonna do something else to put in Pando, to put in Eigenlayer, to put in Ethereum? Like, are they gonna leverage more, or you think it's done right now?
What was the question about money Legos?
Yeah, like people leverage their money in a bunch of applications so that they gain points in Pando, Eigenlayer, and staking as well.
Yeah, and while I think we spent a lot of this panel talking about like all the great problems that Eigenlayer solves, it like we've said multiple times, it is very early. So whether or not Eigenlayer is the best implementation of restaking on Ethereum, we don't know. The risks that are involved are 1, smart contract risk, and 2, the risk that the value staked on all of these AVSs becomes greater than that of Ethereum. However, even if you look at the top, 10 to 20 proof of stake protocols, when you go on like CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, and add all of those together and compare it to Ethereum, it's still a very small amount. So it would require a lot of these AVSs to become it's a good problem to have because they would become extremely successful and reach that same total value locked in staked assets as Ethereum, and that's where restaking doesn't really make sense. However, the point of Eigenlayer is not really to be, the point of Eigenlayer is to solve whatever problem that you have as a protocol developer and as a staker. But if you're familiar with like the original white paper that Sriram Kannan and the rest of the Eigenlayer team came out with, the goal that they had was to build this sandbox almost for new protocols to launch. And essentially, Eigenlayer may not be a permanent home for all these protocols. You could build an AVS, and once you get to a size of substantial size where you feel like you've made very good progress, there are like more customization features that you may want to add. You may want to have more sovereignty in terms of like your protocol. So maybe after that, instead of being secured by just Ethereum, you move to having your own protocol. Yeah, I guess to answer your question, the risks are definitely with layers and layers of smart contract risk, but that will never go away as long as things continue to live on blockchains, at least in their current state, and then also the total value staked through AVSs compared to Ethereum.
So connecting to his question, I think like one of the things that worries me the most nowadays is that we are building new layers of risks in order to leverage, for example, points farming. So with the airdrop hype, a lot of liquidity flew into restaking, and then they use the liquid restaking tokens to leverage on Pando and earn more points and more rewards. And how does this end? So my question is like, as you are like adding these new layers, and each layer has a different set of risks, how much risk do you think the restaking layer adds to the equation?
Purely the restaking layer, there's a little bit of smart contract risk, and there will be some slashing risk. But unless you're using your LRTs and going into DeFi, I don't think there's like a leverage risk or like a credit risk per se. But I think some of the risks are unknown at this point, and that's why we've seen very, very cautious institutional adoption. I think you raised an excellent point, as did you, like this idea of like a financial crisis perpetuated on leverage upon leverage upon leverage that we're unable to unwind appropriately. I think we understand that it's human nature that some of that will happen to begin with. But to protect the core of the ecosystem and the core of the investment capital, people will need to use staking providers that have very prudent risk assessment metrics and that will not run certain AVSs, because it is possible to just opt into one or two or none. But it's also possible to just YOLO and go ham and take a lot of risk and lose it all. But I agree with you, there's a reason to be concerned, but I think the benefits outweigh the risks at this point, especially if you utilize some prudent risk management.
Perfect, guys. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you, guys, for your presentation. See you next time.
Thank you.